So let's continue with the reading. So last we discussed like about Larry Mahasya. What was his impression on Paramahansa Yogananda ji? Yeah, yes. So here, his picture had surpassing influence over my life. As I grew, the thought of master grew with me. In meditation, I would often see photographic image emerge from his small frame. So after certain point of time, he started feeling Larry Mahasya, and people. Yes, we finished over here. Like people who were anxious or who were in grief that they were unable to see Lahari Mahasya. So for them, he had said that I am not this flesh and bone. I am, when you close your eyes and think about me, I'm there with you. So we'll continue from here. I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahari Mahasya. This experience gave intensification to my love while at our family estate in Ichhapur, Bengal. I was stricken with an Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, mother mother frantically motioned me to look at Lahari Mahasya picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him. Mentally, she knew I was too feeble to lift hands in salutation. So, if you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. So, there was a time when he was struck by Asiatic cholera. These disease during those times were very deadly. So, he became very weak. There was a picture of Larry Marcia on the wall above his head. So his mother would say, like, you kneel down before him and just ask for healing. I gazed at his photograph and saw there was blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well, and once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her guru, mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. So he felt that healing just by seeing his picture, and as appreciation, he touched his mother's feet. And O omnipresent, then he said this prayer, O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that the light hath healed my son. So, this prayer the mother has said. I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze, which I instantly recovered from usually a fatal disease. One of my most precious One of my most precious possessions is that same photograph given to father by Lahiri Mahasya himself. It carries a holy vibration. The picture had miraculous origin. I heard the story from father's brother, from father's brother disciple, Kali Kumar Rao. It appears that the master had an aversion to being photographed. Over his protest, a group of pictures was once taken of him and a cluster of devotees, including Kali Kumar Rao. It was an it was an amazed photographer who discovered that the plate, which he had clear images of all disciples, revealed nothing more than a blank space in the center where he had reasonably expected to find the outline of Lahari Masya. The phenomenon was widely discussed. A certain student and expert photographer, Gangadhar Babu, boasted the fugitive figure would not escape him the next morning as the Guru sat in lotus posture on a wooden bench with a screen behind him. Gangadhar Babu arrived with the equipment, taking every precaution for success. He greedily exposed 12 plates. On each one, he soon found the imprint of the wooden bench and screen, but once again, the master form was missing. So, this is something very interesting. So, there were this bunch of photographers who want to capture the picture of Lahiri Masya, but they were unable to do it. So, one of the photographer, Gangadhar Babu, what he did, he was very much prepared. During those time, I think if you remember, there was this like CD type, film. You means you can put that and then you capture the picture. So I think it's the same equipment they are mentioning, like about the plates. So with all precaution, Gangadhar Babu, he got 12 plates and he captured his picture. He did all that was needed. Now again, what was captured? Uh, Only one on each one, he soon found the imprints of the wooden bench and screen. But once again, the master's form was missing. With the tears and shattered pride, Gangadhar Babu sought out his guru. It was many hours before Lahiri Masya broke his silence with a pregnant comment. I am spirit. Can your camera reflect the omnipresent invisible? I see it, cannot. Holy Sir, I lovingly desire a picture of the bodily temple where alone to my narrow vision the spirit appears fully to dwell. Come then tomorrow morning, I will pose for you. So then he said, like, I want a picture for you, of you, and it is a desire. I want to capture your bodily temple. So then what Lahiri Mahasaya said, he said, you come tomorrow, I'll pose for you. Again, the photographer focused his camera. This time, the sacred figure, not cloaked with mysterious imperceptibility, was sharp on the blade. The master never posed for another picture, at least I have seen none. The photograph is produced in this book. Lahiri Mahasya's fair features of a universal caste hardly suggest to what race he belonged. His intense joy of God communion is slightly revealed in somewhat enigmatic smile. His eyes half opened to denote a nominal direction on the outer world are half closed also, completely oblivious to the poor lures of the earth. He was fully awake at all times to the spiritual problems of seekers who approach for his bounty. So when his picture was clicked, so what photographers produced, and I think it is the only picture that we have of Lahiri Masya, which is given in this book. He said that there was intense joy in his smile and his eyes half opened, denoted a nominal direction of the outer world and half closed. So usually you can see the yogis or saints who are in very much deep meditation, their eyes look half closed and half open. Completely oblivious to the poor lures of earth, he was fully awake at all times to the spiritual problems of seekers who approach for his bounty. So he is always there for spiritual problems. Shortly after my healing, through the potency of the Guru's picture, I had influential spiritual visions. Sitting on my bed one morning, I fell into a deep reverie. I fell into a deep reverie. What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? The probing thought came powerfully into my mind. So again, our curious Paramahansa Yogananda ji, as a child, he always had this curiosity. So now again, what it came in his mind? What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? An immense flash of light at once manifested to my inner gaze. Divine shapes of saints sitting in meditation posture in mountains, caves formed like miniature cinema picture on the large screen of radiance within my forehead. Who are you? I spoke aloud. So over here, he's telling when he was sitting on his bed one morning, and just let me change the page. So he closed his eyes and then he asked, what is there behind this eyes, closed eyes? Then he saw pictures. He had this cinema pictures on the large screen of radiance within my forehead. Then he asked, who are you? I spoke aloud. We are the Himalayan yogis. The celestial response is difficult to describe. My heart was thrilled. I long to go to Himalayas and become like you. The vision vanished, but the silvery beams expanded in ever widened circles to infinity. What is this wondrous glow? I am Ishvara. I am light. The voice was murmuring clouds. I want to be one with thee out of the slow dwindling of my divine ecstasy. I salvaged a permanent legacy of inspiration to seek God. He is eternally ever new joy. This memory persisted long after the day of rapture. Another early recollection is outstanding and is literally so far I bear the scars of this day. My elder sister Uma and I were seated in the early morning under a neem tree in our Gorakhpur compound. She was helping me with a Bengali primer. What time I could spare my gaze from nearby parrots eating ripe Margosa fruit. Uma complained of a boil on her leg and fetched a jar of ointment. I smeared a bit of the salve on my forearm. What do you use? Why do you use medicine on a healthy arm? Well, sis, I feel I am going to have a boil tomorrow. I am testing your ointment on the spot where the boil will appear. You little liar. Sis, don't call me a liar until you see what happens this in the morning. Indignation filled me. Uma was unimpressed and thrice repeated her taunt. An adamant resolution sounded in my voice as I made slow reply. So over here, he was having a conversation with her sister. Uma complained of a boil on her leg, and she was applying that ointment. Then what happened? Paramahansa Yogananda ji, he applied it in his forearm. Then his sister asked, "Why are you applying it on a healthy arm?" So he said, "Next morning I'm going to have a boil over here." So she was like very unimpressed, like, what is he saying? By the power of will in me, I say that tomorrow I shall have fairly large boil in the exact place on the arm, and your boil shall swell to twice its present size. So it is like he was forecasting it. Morning found me with a stalwart boil in the indicated spot. The dimension of Uma's boil doubled. Why? With a shriek, my sister rushed to mother. Mukunda has become a necromancer. Gravely, mother instructed me never to use the power of words for doing harm. I have always remembered her counsel and followed it. So, sorry, exactly the same thing happened, what he said. So, that day, he realized that his words were so powerful. And mother said, don't use your power of words for harming anyone, for doing harm. We also at times don't realize, but most of us are blessed with this gift of power of words. What we say, it happens. And because of lack of purification, we tend to misuse it. We usually say negative things and things which are not good. So once you realize that you have this power of words, like what you say materializes. So I would suggest work on your anger and use your words properly. Use your words for healing. So yes, let's continue. Next, yeah, my boil was surgically treated. I know a noticeable scar left behind the doctor's incision is present today. On my right forearm is a constant reminder of my power in man's sheer word. So, seeing that scar, it is a constant reminder for him about the power of man's words. Those simple and apparel harmless phrase to Umma, spoken with deep concentration, had possessed sufficient hidden forces to explode like bomb and produce definite through though injurious effects. I understood later that the explosive vibratory power in speech could be wisely directed to free one's life from difficulties and thus operate without scar or rebuke. Now, there is a message for all of us watching. We don't realize what we say. Sometimes our emotions get so much over us that we tend to, it includes me also, we tend to say bad things to other. If you're not saying verbally, we might be saying it mentally, and we don't realize the power of words. And over here, he's saying the same thing. He was an immature person. He did not had this realization, like words have power. So those simple and apparently harmless phrase to Ma, he just said with full concentration that your boil will be twice the size what it is now, and he'll get a boil in his arms, on his arms, and then it happened. So what he's saying that if anything which is spoken with concentration and is it will produce results like bombs. I mean, it will explode like bombs and produce definite through injurious effects. And I understood later that the explosive vibratory power in speech could be wisely directed to free one's life from difficulties and thus operate without scar or rebuke. It is mostly like you see when two people are in argument or two people are in fight, they don't think twice to say anything. Even I have seen a lot of time people when they talk and very easily they say, okay, you go die. इन हिंदी दे से हाँ जाओ मर जाओ कहाँ मर गए थे मेरा फोन नहीं उठा रहे. They don't realize what they're speaking. A lot of time I've seen people saying these things very, very randomly, and I feel that no, you should be cautious with your words. It is very important. You need to be cautious with your words. And once you are in a spiritual path, if you are a regular meditator, you you have this power of intuition. Your energies are vibrating high, so your sensitivity towards things will be high. You will be meeting people who are not your well wishers, who are thinking ill of you, and you are aware of that. But you have to react accordingly. You don't have to use your powers to, you know, say things which can harm them. We don't realize, but it can happen. So over here, Paramahansa Yogananda ji is telling that he understood later the explosive vibratory power in speech that could be wisely directed to free one's life from difficulties. Like how I handle when I come across people who don't have a good intention or who are not my well wishers. So I usually try to disconnect. I don't interact much, but if I have no other option, I mentally say, "Peace be with you. Peace be with me. God bless you." So don't allow them to go into that stage where you are mentally entangled with that person, and then um, you start having arguments in your mind. So let's continue. This is the last page, and then we'll be going to day 3. Uh, sorry, then we'll be going to chapter 2. Our family moved to Lahore in Punjab. There I acquired a picture of Divine Mother in the form of Goddess Kali. It sanctified a small informal shrine on the balcony of our home, and unequivocal conviction came over me that fulfillment would crown any of my prayers uttered in that sacred spot. Standing there with Uma, one day I watched 2 kites flying over the roof of the building on the opposite sides of the very narrow lane. Why are you so quiet? Uma pushed me playfully. I'm just thinking how wonderfully it is that Divine Mother gives me whatever I ask. I suppose she would give you those 2 kites. My sister laughed derisively. Why not? I began silent prayers for the possession. Matches are played in India with kites whose string are covered with glue and ground glass. Each player attempts to sever the string of his opponent. A Fred kite sail over the roof. There is great fun in catching it. Inasmuch as Uma and I were on balcony, it seemed impossible that any loosened kite could come into our hands. Its string would naturally dangle over the roof. The player across the lane began their match. One string was cut immediately. The kite floated in my direction. It was stationary for a moment. Through a sudden abatement of breeze, which sufficed to firmly entangle the string with the cactus plant on top of the opposite house, a perfect loop was formed for my seizure. I handed the prize to Uma. It was just extraordinary accident and not an answer to your prayer. If the other kite comes to you, then I shall believe. Sister's dark eye conveyed more amazement than her words. So now what happened in India? They play with the kites. So what is usually the rule? The one, 2 people when they are playing, the other tries to cut the thread of the person who's in the opposite. And what happens? The kite, then person who's trying to cut the kite, usually the kite thread gets entangled and it can be taken away by the first player. Or the kite just flies. It can go randomly anywhere. So over here, Paramahansa Yogananda ji said that I will, her sister said, Paramahansa Yogananda ji was telling, like, whatever I ask with the Divine Mother, she gives me. So her sister laughed and said, I suppose she would give you those 2 kites. So he started praying. One kite he already got in his roof. Then his sister just she said like, I'll believe you when the other one also comes to our place. Then he again continued his prayer. with a crescendo intensity. A forcibly tug by the other player resulted in the abrupt loss of his kite. It headed towards me, dancing in the wind. My helpless assistant, the cactus plant, again secured the kite string in the necessary loop by which I could grasp it. I presented the second trophy to Uma. It was just an extraordinary accident and not an answer to your prayer. If the, yeah, sorry. So indeed, Divine Mother listens to you. There is all too uncanny for me. Sister bolted away like a frightened fawn. So Uma, I think it was the second experience for Uma, seeing Yogananda ji's supernatural powers. So she was all frightened and then she moved away. So yes, this was our chapter 1, which is completed. So we'll be doing uh, chapter 2 the next day, My Mother's Death and the Mystic Amulet. I hope you are enjoying this book study session. See, what I feel, and I think this is the third time I'm reading this book. What I feel there, in these 2, 3 lines in his life experiences, there are so many messages for us. Like, yeah, I was also unaware, or you can say, like, it was not coming to my notice the power of speech that we have, what he mentioned earlier. We don't realize what we speak. And usually, frictions in families, like when you are in close contact with your partner, with people who you stay day and night, you don't realize sometimes it becomes so obvious talking negatively about them or saying negative things to them that we don't realize we are wasting the power of words. So, my take home message after this chapter is like being very cautious about the words that I use when I am not in a good mood or in a good emotional state. So, I hope you might have also got your take home message. Some points or some experience might have clicked you. And I think we should be aware of that, or you can carry that message and incorporate. So, tomorrow we'll be doing the next chapter. Have a great day. Namaste to all.